Dean don't know you. You don't really know him. People just know, oh, that's the dude, Dean. That's Dean, because he riding by in a Benz or a Caddy or something. And they just knew. And Jerry would play that card because he would most of the time be driving one of Dean's cars. So that was like a looking real fly. Jerry pull up in the Cadillac. He in the Seville and shit, and he like, yes, my, Dean, my brother. You play that shit. So that was just his play was I'm Dean's little brother, but he was never gonna bring nobody. He later on when I knew Dean, Jerry didn't have the pull to be like just bringing his random homies up to Dean's house. It wasn't like what part of the game is that? So I did that show at the Henry J. Kaiser at the Oakland Auditorium. UTFO had the hottest record out. Roxanne. A lot of times the hottest record out, that group would come through headlining the tour. So they came through, back then tours would be like it was them, it was the chick, the real Roxanne, or whichever, yeah, I'm the real Roxanne, that one. And then whoever else was on the opening acts. But back then it would be like a DJ, it would be a dance crew. People from the local city would get to show up. So they have a guy like me on the show. I'm hired to do 3 songs. And Lionel B hooked me up. Lionel B from Bay Area Productions. And they worked real close to Bill Graham back then. So it really was a Bill Graham thing, sold out show. And, Jerry was the homie. Jerry was with me. I think when I went there, he was riding with me. And fucking, that was the night he told me, he was like, man, I'm gonna take you to meet my brother. He got a record label. And shortly after that, a matter of days after that, we were knocking on Dean's door. And then we were up in the house talking to him. And it was no like, okay, I think about it this time. Dean was instantly like, well, let's get down. Like immediately, let's get in the studio, let's go. Freddie B was my rap partner. Freddie B grew up in Campbell Village, West Oakland. And when we were going to Fremont High, Freddie B lived in East Oakland. Freddie B had been in a couple of facilities, juvenile facilities. He kind of knew those kind of dudes. He probably knew a lot of his friends, his acquaintances from being locked up with him because he knew people all over, everywhere. Like, oh, his real name was Anthony Adams. So if he knew somebody from rapping, they'd be like, Freddie B, what's up? But if he knew somebody from real life, they'd be like, hey, what's up? But they call him his real name. And it was his idea. He was like, man, we was making some homemade tapes, just kicking it. He was like, man, we should sell this shit. So we went over to a Royal Park with one tape, and we sold that motherfucker. Like, we literally walked up to some dudes. It's like, hey, man, y'all want to buy a copy of our rap song, or our tape or something? And somebody was like, why would we buy that? And then, Fred was like, man, just listen to it, man. So somebody popped it in the car loud stereo, cats standing around, doors open, everybody listening. And then somebody said, eject, how much you want for it? It was like $5. Bam. And that moment, I'll never forget that moment, because somebody else said, I want one too. We only had one. So we immediately, we'll be back tomorrow. So that was the beginning of the whole tape hustle. Was we came back that next day, and whatever we had, they bought it. So then we look at each other and go, well, what's next? We had a Royal Park, East Oakland. He's like, well, shit, if you go right over the street to 84th, like a few blocks over, they selling dope over there. Bam, we go over to 84th. It probably took us another day to go back and re-up. We go hit 84th. By the time we hit it, they like, oh yeah, we heard. So we working our way, like literally like a map in our heads, like, oh, the next closest dope turf is right there. Before we get there, they already heard, because, this motherfuckers just riding up, bumping, because we talking that Oakland shit, and at the time, you ain't got nobody talking Oakland shit. You in Oakland? And they talking about, man, we from Oakland, blah, blah, blah. Like, you loving that shit. And we on the B side of records that's already hot. So it ain't like we on some Mickey Mouse ass beats. These are the records that are out. Every 12-inch that came out had an instrumental on the B side. So we rocking those records, which made it nice and, friendly for the listener. But basically, that whole thing went on. We worked our way all the way from the 80s to the 90s to Brandy Park. It just weaving through Oakland. And finally, a couple of key factors was one was when we discovered how to make customized tapes, which was a interesting situation where we ended up with a guy named Freddie Pratt who pulled up on us, and he was a drug dealer who said he wanted to rap. I want to rap. I rap. He's like, I got a cool little setup. So we go around with Freddie Pratt, and his shit that he records with is way better than the shit that we record with at my house. So we, me and Freddie B, we like, shit, we like this dude, man. He got money, he got a car, he got the spot. But we also know that we're inside of Hot Lips' house. And Hot Lips is like one of those dudes on the east side that I guess you know him, you love him, but if you don't know him, you're kind of scared. You like, Hot Lips, you heard stories about him, So Hot Lips would never speak to us. We just fuck with Freddie Pratt in and out. Well, I've just been around a lot of dudes who consider themselves to be players with the ladies and how they spend money in the way they do it. Dean never had cars with rims. He never rode by so that people could see him in his brand new Mercedes. He wasn't trying to draw attention to himself. He didn't wear gaudy jewelry. He didn't do any clubbing. He was in his own world. So to be a friend of his, you probably got to either be in business with him or you got to come to his world. Because when he go out, he handling some business and he coming right back to his world. And his world was, revolving door, people in and out, shit just going down. But I just felt like I learned a lot by the not bragging and the not wanting everybody to know what you really got, or feeling like people need to know, or feeling like I need to go get shit like gold trimming and rims and shit just so people know I'm the baller. Like everybody was doing that shit. And then here you meet this cat who could do any of that shit, and he ain't down at the stereo shop. He ain't on the corner trying to show the homies he grew up with that I'm having more than you, or I'm in it too type of mentality. So add that to the fact that he managed to make friends, regardless of how, with all these upper echelon people who would just come by as friends, whether it was drug related or whatever, music related, they flocked to Dean. And, outside of being the motherfucker that gave Too Short his first shot, he was a real player. And when I say player, him and his man Vernon Mouton, if you could ever sniff out Vernon, he'd probably tell you a lot more interesting stuff that I could tell you about their world. Nah, well, kind of play on words. I had a couple of homies. I had like 3 homies named Vern, and the fact that commercial used to always say, "You know what I mean, Vern?" I thought it was funny that I knew some Verns. But yeah, he was part of that. But yeah, they had a little thing, man. Their houses weren't too far apart. They had a lot of chicks, and it was just a lot of bad bitches. Like, I'm a little dude. I'm like 19, and I'm like, damn, these bitches is fine. Like, for real. Just in there having a good time. And then he went to jail one time, and he left that briefcase to me and his little brother. To me and Jerry, he left us a briefcase. And the briefcase was it was like about a half a key of cocaine. It was probably like some money. And it was just random ass shit. And it was fucking 2 stacks of Polaroids about this fucking tall as they can fit in the briefcase. And it was nothing but bitches. Now, I had seen a lot of bitches, but I never seen all these bitches. I don't know when he managed to do this. This must have been before I ever showed up, or when I wasn't. But these bitches, it was pictures, and they were either standing in the living room, like probably like showing it, flashing titties, or just like looking like they might be dancing in their underwear. A lot of them was naked. A lot of them was in the bathroom. He has some thing about take pictures of bitches in the bathroom. You can ask him about that, I don't know. But a lot of them was in the bathroom and in the various poses, you know, it could be bed or couch or whatever, but in these pictures, the one thing I took in and just stuck with me was these bitches was doing it willingly and they all looked like they was having fun when the picture was taken. And I was just like, to myself, you know, the things that make an impression on your life, I was like, this guy is doing some other shit. Like I'm looking at these pictures like, oh shit, I seen this bitch at the store, this bad grown ass bitch. I went to school with this bitch. I'm looking at it like, damn. Yeah, that's that Dean influence, man. So, you know, when I came in the presence of Dean for the first time, the history of me, I was fucking. I wasn't scared of girls. You know, I didn't had been through a little bit. I'm you know, from 14, 15 to 19, some shit had happened, but I hadn't done nothing player, nothing of how you act when you're around a grown ass, sexy ass woman, you know. Well, Dean had all these all these musicians with us, so every session was a couple of guitar players, a couple of keyboard players, like it was musicians, and he hired them to make the music. At this time, we don't know. Think about hip hop before 1985. Majority of hip hop was house bands, live bass, and you know shit. If it wasn't a loop or a DJ trying to catch a break beat, it was just bam. Sugar Hill Records was a band. Let's go listen to all that Sugar Hills shit. The fucking house band, the drummer, you hear this shit loud and clear. And we were under the impression that in order to make music from scratch, you gotta have musicians. So I think that shit stay with me throughout my whole career. You gotta have musicians. Like I really could not make music without musicians. Even though some songs have just a drum machine and a bass line, other songs have a loop. But I was listening to a bunch of Too Short recently, and it was a lot of musicians, a lot of guitars and keyboards, a lot of. Yeah, that was just one photo shoot, and Dean just kept fucking picking a different picture, and just he wouldn't let go of that shit. That's the Too Short pictures he had in his possession, and he wore them motherfuckers out. Uh, it was one thought process. I know the whole formula. Need to figure out how to get some money and do this shit. And I know a bunch of motherfuckers with money. So we're gonna do this shit. Yeah. We talked to a lot of people before Ted. I went to the West Oakland homies. I went to the Village homies. I got a sheet of paper in my hand. On that sheet of paper is about three very brief scenarios of how much I make off cassettes. The cassette cost me $1 to make it, $5 to sell it. Um, if we pressed up 2,000 cassettes, we'd make this much after we flipped it 2 or 3 times. If we pressed up 5,000, we do this. If we pressed up 15,000, we do this. And I'm like, what you want to invest? And Cash was just like, man, looking at the bottom number and going, man, I get way more than that selling dope. What I'm gonna get? What that's gonna do for me, short? Ted had the money, and the way the story goes, it was two people in the crew who, a lot of times when we talk to guys, it's like anybody just going around looking for investors. A lot of times we talk to guys, it would just be like that guy or maybe his right hand man. But the time we talked to Ted, it was a group of people, and they all happen to be real fans, like over the years, like real solid fans. And one was the homie Lil Fat Bird, and the other one was Ted's right hand man, Ollie. And both of them claimed that after I left, and Ted was like, man, same thing everybody else said, man, I'm getting way more money than that. I make 25, 34, 50 grand. I'm getting way more than that. That they was like, man, that's too short. Man, he tripping? Like, man, do that shit, man. That little money, do that shit. So they talked him into that. But one thing about Ted that I think a lot of cats wouldn't have did was Ted, he knew the number to invest, and then he had a certain style about himself to where if he had a car, he was gonna make it look nice. If he had a house, he was gonna fix it up nice. If he was going out, he was gonna look right. If he was gonna eat somewhere, we was gonna eat good. So when we gonna put the fucking music together, we're not going by the low budget. We're gonna do this shit right. So Ted he never stuck to no number. He was like, we're gonna do this shit right. And immediately when we put out the first Freaky Tales cassette, it was never an issue with money or how we rolling or nothing, because it was instantaneous. Me and Freddie B used to rap these little segments on our homemade tapes. You don't get a certain amount of bars. You don't get a time frame. You just get your turn. So I take a 3-minute turn. His would be 7. My next one would be 5. His next one would be 2. It was just, your turn next. What you got? And we just reading off papers and shit and just, I got one. And we going back and forth. So we had these little stories, man. My favorite Freddie B story was the Tooth Fairy story, where he was a little kid. Now he rapping this shit. He's like, when he was a little kid, the Tooth Fairy, his tooth fell out, and she came to get the tooth under the pillow and asked the nigga, what you want? And the nigga was like, well, shit, I want a fucking platter full of cocaine and a limousine, and I want you to hold for me in Vegas. Let's go. So he jumped in the fucking limo with the cocaine and the Tooth Fairy, driving to Vegas on the way to put the bitch on the host roll. That's a Freddie B rap. Motherfuckers was like, ain't never heard no shit like that in their life. So one of mine was, I had this one line where I said I had 16 hoes, second 10 toes. And for some reason, every time I said 16 hoes, second 10 toes, motherfuckers laughed. And I was like, if that's funny, I'm gonna do a whole song about these 16 hoes. So I did a rap about how I met each of the 16 hoes. It was called 16 Hoes. And then later, somewhere down the line, not related to the 16 hoes, I made that bass line. Dun, 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 dun. Made the fucking bass line. So when I got to the studio, after the 75 Girls run, I'm in the studio on my own, on Ted Bohannon's money, and I'm like, what do I do? And I got this fucking song, man. I got all these rhymes about all these bitches. I had actually fucked around with Dean while I was at 75 Girls and wrote this song. I turned 16 hoes into a song called 75 Girls. And it was Freaky Tales format, but it went through 75 bitches. And I knew that shit was dope as fuck. So when I got to the studio and it was renaming it Freaky Tales and all this shit, and I was just rewriting and coming up with these are the tales and that whole shit, I just looked at a lot of the rhymes that I had for the 75 Girls, and I was like, oh, that was really kind of whack, because I was stretching, trying to rhyme about 75 bitches. So I was like, that's kind of whack, that's kind of whack, that's kind of whack. I get rid of all the whack ones. And if I counted right, I might be wrong, but I think I narrowed it down to about 42 or 43. And it was just the right ones. I was like, this is it. It had no format. There was no bar counting. There was no when does the hook come. It was no format. The music was not looped. That's me. I programmed the drums, and I sat there and played that bass line, like just that one take. You just play it. That's why I keep doing different weird shit. I'm just sitting there playing it. You hear where I fuck up. I was like, I used to think that shit was dope, fucking up on raps and music. Same shit. It's the same exact format. We play with a machine, got that weird ass voice. We fucking, it's just a bass line. It's me hitting, I'm going, outside the bass line, I'm hitting this one keyboard. It's just going, bam. This is one fucking note. And I just hold it until it fades away on its own. And then I go, bam, let's just do it again. I'm just like, the shit just sound funky. And the way you mesh it together, it don't take a lot of air, because you know what's happening? That 808 is bumping. And you just gotta follow the 808. So I knew the formula early on. Shit talking to 808s. It was done in 3 nights, 3 sessions. The midnight, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. They call that graveyard shift, because you pay for half price at the studio. I was at Different Fur in the city. Different Fur had the real shit. I think they had an SSL up in there. We didn't know what the fuck it was, but we was sitting on one. Fucking it was a matter of proving it to Ted, for one. It was a matter of, we had been struggling for about 6 months without Dean, taking care of us. And it was a rough 6 months. It was a matter of how confident that I was in. We had an 808 drum machine. We had a funky ass rolling SH-101 keyboard. We didn't need shit. I got these rhymes. I got this shit, the patterns of the beats in my head already. This is gonna be easy. Like literally, we probably made 3 songs a night or some shit. And then I was like, this the album. They're like, what do you mean this the album? This the album. Let's go. Like the first mix of the album, we remastered it and shit when we got on Jive. But that first shit that went out as Born to Mac the album, that was them 3 sessions. It wasn't no go back and mix and master. That was those 3 sessions. Those are the songs. Then we made probably $500,000 off that shit, man. And the sessions probably I remember this shit was $1,600. It cost more than manufacturing and all that shit, but still, them sessions was $1,600. And it was gold. That shit was like gold. Jive had just signed the Fresh Prince and Boogie Down Productions, KRS One. And the Scotland Rock getting killed was a big story. Jive had Houdini. Jive had Kool D. Both of them had been the hottest groups outside of what Def Jam was doing with Beastie Boys, LL, and Run DMC. Kool D was top dog for a hot minute. Like top dog, biggest hits. Houdini was, if they didn't have the biggest hits, they had huge hits, and they were being given credit for like best stage show, best presence. They was like gods. So add in motherfuckers like Billy Ocean. He like, this label makes shit happen. And then the way they got at me was not about, it wasn't about, hey man, we got some money for you, this and that. It was just really, in terms of how we were thinking about getting music out there, their whole pitch was, would you like to get your music out to the world? And I'm looking at their results, and I'm like, I knew what it meant to be on a major label and caught up in the sauce or whatever, I was like, this is the kind of a boutique label. I knew what I was, that I'm talking to the owner, the president and the owner, not some way down the line motherfucker that's working for a board of directors of the corporation. So, it was it seemed like the right fit. I think the Jive thing took 2 albums for me to really grip what I was into and what my role would be. The first one, Born to Mac, they picked it up. We sold, I don't know, 60, 70,000 copies, something, 75,000. They got it and sold another 200, 250 somewhere in there. And there was no video, it was no promo. And I said to myself, when I'm thinking of numbers, I'm looking at the numbers like how the kind of money we got off 70,000. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, no promotions, no single, nothing that these other rappers are doing. I ain't even on TV or nothing. And 300 some thousand people bought my shit. I knew it. I knew they would like it. I'm like, okay, I knew this shit. So we making, immediately when we signed a Jive, we probably had already been making the Life is Too Short album. I never waited for like deals and shit and budgets and shit. So we probably had already been making it. The deal went through as fast as they released Born to Mac, and it did what it did. It was like, bam, here's another album. It's already done, delivered. I used to deliver my albums with the mastered versions of the whole album, all the credits written out already. I'll send the shit over with the artwork in one big ass FedEx package. And it would literally be one delivery. You get the artwork, the credits written out, typed out, and the fucking music. And it's like delivered. And they're like, who the fuck does that? Like, who sends this shit? So basically, you damn near got to send the front end and the back end at the same time. Like, here. So Life is Too Short comes out. The first 3 weeks, it sells 300,000 copies. I remember that because that was the first promo they put on the album. They put, when they started promoting it, there was like 300,000 copies in 3 weeks. I remember seeing that shit in one of their little tags or whatever. So I go on tour with NWA. And from the time the tour starts to the time the tour ends, I'm now at an extra 500,000 sales. I done went on tour and sold another 500,000 records. So now I'm at 800,000. I get back to Oakland and they put a rumor out that I got murdered. Like Too Short OD'd or got shot in a crack house. Then the motherfucker sells another 500,000 on sympathy records or some sympathy sales. And the shit hits up to like 1.3. That's when I go, oh shit. I remember what the money was looking like. I remember the mathematics. I'm like, okay. So I ain't did nothing different from the bedroom in my mama's house to different fur, making Born to Mac, to going over to Richmond to my man Al Eaton, One Little Indian Studios, and making Life is Too Short. I ain't did nothing different. It's fucking drum machines, it's the fucking beats, and the fucking rhymes. And this shit is like, they getting ready to send me the budget for another album after Life is Too Short. And before they could even send it, it was already done. Short Dog's in the house. Me and Forte met one night. I did a show at the Solar System, and he was on the show back when he had that Hubbers. That's probably was his first little street moving around song. And when I got there, at some point he went on. You know, the Solar System used to be sweating. That motherfucker, the walls was crying. It was just dripping. Third and Paloux. That's an HP, ain't it? HP, right? So I go up in that motherfucker. I don't even know how big the Solar System is. That motherfucker was stuffed. And this nigga gets on and starts singing that song. And I ain't never heard the song in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he ripped. And then, you know, I'm about to go on and do my songs back then. What was it? Playboy Short and all this shit. Girl, That's Your Life. I'm finna do the same thing. I'm about to rip it. But I'm like, oh, man, I'm not the only one I do like this, nigga. You're doing like this? I immediately, every time I see something like that in my life, I be like, hey, nigga. I wrote up on him and was like, man, we gotta hook up. I was already like, a lot of people don't know that when I was making Born to Mac, the homie that brought the 808 drum machine, his name was Chris Wayne. Chris Wayne is from Hunters Point. So, you know, I was always in the city. It was back, like, somehow the Bay turned out to be, I'm from here, I'm from there type shit. But we wasn't tripping like that back then. If I pushed up to Vallejo or out to Richmond or East Palo Alto or I've been fucking Sunnydale, the high rises and shit, and fucking Geneva Towers, or that shit, that shit, or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm in the city. I'm in Alamany Projects and jumping out the caddy, talking to niggas and shit. Ain't nobody trying to take it or grab my chain. It was just like, oh, that's too short. What's up, nigga? Crazy. I pull up on any one of them damn corners on fucking 3rd Street and just jump out. And niggas be like, nigga, what's up, nigga? Blah, blah. Leave top down, go in the store. I might know one nigga out there, whatever. They ain't nobody trying to be like, nigga, yo, fuck away from here, nigga, join me. Wasn't even like that. So, pushed up on 4. Was like, man, come by the lab. That's when I was working with at Al Eaton's house in Richmond when he had the one by the freeway. Fucking and we just did it, man. Life is too short. Then I had dropped that. A lot of motherfuckers don't know about this compilation I dropped called The Dangerous Crew early on. It was Forte, Spice One was on there. We was just up in there, man, youngsters, man, playing with drum machines and keyboards and shit. And motherfuckers had ideas and hooks and verses. So now you got a grassroots movement going on that starts before 75 Girls. And it gets more intense during 75 Girls. It gets super intense during Freaky Tales. And then Life is Too Short, it's just out the bag. That grassroots movement is called college students. So that's my number one. When I finally get on the large stage with Jive and I get the push, I done had, hundreds of promoters, probably thousands, enrolled in colleges all over the country, irritating the fuck out there East Coast and down South and don't know about the Bay Area roommates. Well, because I get the story from the roommates. Like, man, I was in college. I was from fucking wherever, USA. And I got a fucking roommate from San Francisco, Oakland, from Vallejo, some Bay Area city. And this motherfucker's playing Too Short all day. And I'm like, I just started liking it. Like, motherfuckers from the Bay made you like that shit in your fucking dorm. You from New York talking about, what word, son? This motherfucker's playing Too Short on repeat till you finally go, I like this shit. I had a homie who did some time in Beaumont, Texas. And he sat up in that motherfucker for some years and he came out and said, man, I kind of like country western music. He sat in there for years listening to it and said, the songs mean a lot. Like, he stopped, he let his mind open up and listened to country western and was like, these are some beautiful ass songs. That's a beautiful voice. That's a beautiful subject. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna run back a little bit, and I'm just can't leave out one important thing about how we got the neighborhoods of Oakland, not just block to block pushing up on dope dealers. The homie Freddie Pratt took us up in that dope house where they sold PCP and weed and probably who knows what else. And we was terrified of the nigga who ran the house, Hot Lips. And one day, Hot Lips made a comment about rap music. I don't know if it was something presented to him like, want a copy of what we just did, whatever. You want a copy? Like, man, fuck that rap shit. I don't fuck with that rap shit. That shit, like, he was like, I don't even listen to rap. He wasn't even talking about us. He was like, fuck rap. That shit, like, man, only way I would listen to that shit is if it was about me. The shit ain't about me. It was fuck I want to listen to it for. So me and Fred left out of that motherfucker kind of shaking in our boots. That Hot Lips just got through yelling at us. And we was like, man, let's just go make him a tape about him. And so we push back up around Freddie Pratt, get around Hot Lips and just go, here, man. And hand him this tape. He never said he listened to it. He never said he liked it. He didn't say shit ever. Hot Lips is probably like 92nd, 94th and Sunnyside, somewhere right in there. We about a few blocks over on 89th, like 89th and Olive. And walking down the street, we on the paper route, slinging the cassette tapes. And this motherfucker come running up on us like real angry and real loud and real scary on the approach. And he's like, you motherfuckers know who I am? He's like, nah, homie. He like, man, I'm King D, man. It's my motherfucking block. Y'all on my block right now. He was like, if you motherfuckers don't make me one of them motherfucking tapes like y'all made Hot Lips, fucking you niggas up. Like, straight the fuck up. Like, you can't call my block, you blah, blah, blah. Like, nigga, fucking you up if you don't make me one like you made Hot Lips. Straight up. And we like, fuck, we figure out who the fuck he is and like, goddamn, what we gonna do? So we go fucking make him a fucking tape. When we give him the tape, he don't, without asking, without saying no price, he just gives us $20. So we walk away. Every time we walk away from a situation, we like, damn, man, shit. We ought to do this for everybody for $20. We've been selling tapes for $5. So we start telling motherfuckers, we got these tapes for sale, but we'll make you one about you for $20. So the only motherfuckers that's like gonna spend $20 is the bosses. We start getting requests, like motherfuckers, a couple times motherfuckers like swooped up on us. And man, you too short and Freddie B? Yeah, get in the car. You're like, hey, Uncle, what's up, homie? Like, we motherfucker ride us over to some apartments or something. Then we gotta meet some boss motherfucker. He like, yeah, I want one of them tapes, man. Yeah, say this, say that. We come back the next day, hand the tape over. We did this shit all over the city. All the motherfucking kingpins love Too Short and Freddie B. It's my motherfucking man. I'm doing a party, man. Y'all DJ my party. We fucking with the bosses. They like, come sit over here with me. Like the shit changed, you feel me? And then I had a homie, he loved me and Freddie B. His name was Yogi from 6ix9ine Village. And Yogi, he just loved the fuck out of me and Freddie B. Like, he was a guy who was, he put fear in a lot of people in the streets. Like, motherfuckers fear Yogi because he was about that life, And he rode us around one day to all these random ass neighborhoods. And he was like, hey y'all, it's Too Short and Freddie B. And niggas, niggas making the tapes and shit. He's like, they're my little homies. He was like, just letting y'all know, man, if they come around, look out for them, support them, buy their shit, and anybody fuck with them, you gotta worry about me, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't fuck with my niggas. He rode us around the city. So you add in the fact that we got these kingpins going, that's my mans in them. We got Yogi going, don't fuck with my niggas. Plus, Freddie, we knew a bunch of motherfuckers. We kind of got a pass in a city that don't give out passes. So now, fast forward to Short Dogs in the House. I done went on tour with NWA. When I go on tour with NWA off the Life is Too Short album, I'm the second to the last group to go on. After me is NWA. I'm fucking jumping off stage in between me finishing and them starting, and I'm going in the crowd. That was my routine, go in the crowd, be like, what's up, nigga? Y'all side of town y'all from? Blah, blah, take a picture, all that shit. And fuck with the niggas. So when I get back, I done been to like barbershops and restaurants and neighborhoods and fuck with these niggas. I'll come to such and such club after. We went around the country and made a bunch of friends. So I'm kind of like the same mind frame of winning over the neighborhoods. We winning over little cities. So I go opening song, name the album Short Dogs in the House, opening song. I'm really looking at the tour schedule that we just got off of. And I'm rapping about those cities and real shit that happened. And that shit, man, when that came out, it's song number 1, and then all them fans, them motherfuckers is like, man, this motherfucker really came here, really put us on the album. I always would rap about people I bumped into and shit. Like, I seen Detroit niggas in Miami. Man, you think them niggas ever gonna forget that? Man, put us, like, man, I'll be somewhere 10 years from now, and one of them Detroit niggas, he'd be 50 years old, and he see somebody over there harassing me, like, nigga, fuck with show, just because I put him in that one song. It said Detroit niggas was in Miami. So that little shit, I learned how to do all that shit with the name dropping, the hood dropping, the side of town shit. Niggas is like, nigga, we love that nigga. So here's what happened. Personal opinion. We in 1984. 83, 84, there's a thing called freebasing. Freebasing is, I can't distinguish the difference between freebasing, rock cocaine, and smoking crack. If you know the difference, explain to me, because it looked the same to me. So freebasing was motherfuckers getting high, cooking up coke, smoking that shit all night, same old addictive ass shit than freebasing. But the difference is when it was called freebasing, ballers did it. And, you know, you couldn't freebase if you wasn't a baller. So we might hear some old Too Short tapes of me and Freddie B pretending like we smoking coke. You're like, nigga, man, let me hit that shit. So we balling. We not sitting there going, we pretend to be crackheads. We pretend to be ballers. So 84 into 85, you seen the movies how it was invented in LA or whatever, you know, how they came up with the formula, Rick Ross and all that shit, but in the streets of Oakland, the $10 Rock shows up. And that meant initially that I can do the baller thing smoking. I'm finna go smoke. It was like, man, nigga, smoke, nigga, we smoking. You know what I'm saying? You finna do the baller thing on a budget. But now, I don't know if it's something that made it more addictive or if it's just the same addictive, but shit, Richard Pryor was blowing himself up with the ether and the shit. That was freebasing. He wasn't smoking crack. But what the fuck was the difference? So now you can do what the ballers do, and the shit it goes epidemic instantly. I remember E40's was like, I remember when the world went crazy back in 1985. That shit, it was literally like cats had cars, cats had pocket change, motherfuckers had neighborhoods and blocks and hustles. But then all of a sudden, you notice the people who had the means to hustle was having hella money. They're like, oh shit, like them niggas used to sell weed or some PCP or some, you know, little packets of coke or something. These motherfuckers is balling now like the heroin niggas. So all these random ass ballers start popping up. Like just, you know, motherfuckers who you thought was the kingpin or a big baller probably had been smoking, and now he was like drifting off to crackhead status. And these new little soldiers was taking over, or even motherfuckers who was big got bigger and was like running around like mafia dons and shit. And it was just like just a whole lot of rich, hood rich, instantly. 85, 86, 87, hood rich than a motherfucker. Fabulously hood rich, balling. And I think that before the nightmare of the laws changing and all that shit, before that part, and the automatic weapons getting, you know, more sophisticated with the clips and the fullies and all that shit, and the handguns that shoot 17, before that little period, it was a time where I like to consider it, the rules were smoke it or sell it. And it's like we sitting back, all of us, we side by side, we all in the same group, same circle. Who out of us, we didn't talk about this, but if you could be in that moment in 1985 and then skip forward 2 years, you'd be like, damn, that's my nigga smoked, my nigga balled out, my nigga got killed. You know, it was like that. Like niggas who was like, niggas who you like, man, that nigga used to beat niggas up. That nigga, I looked up to that nigga, was the crack head. Done. Never came back. You might as well have made him a live zombie. He never came back. Couldn't tell you the whereabouts of what happened to the rest of the story. I just know that nigga was done with it. And bad bitches. I mean, even like, you know, like I looked to like in 85 when I got to hang around Dean and all that shit. And then later on you see some of them bad bitches, like I ain't gonna say no names, but one of the baddest bitches that nigga had ended up being a crackhead with like little homies running her and shit, and bitch was working cheap ass jobs, and like this bitch was a goddess. Like that type shit. Badass prostitute smoked out. Pimpin' ass motherfucker smoked out. It was like, sell it or smoke it. Which one you gonna do? So, you know, then when the shit changed was when all of a sudden crack cocaine carries these heavy sentences. And then all of a sudden, which the one that we never really talk about a lot is how did all these guns get in the hood? And I don't know if you could tell me some stories, but I could tell you a few stories about niggas coming up to the studio or to the block, wherever we at. Nigga go, we slinging Glocks, brand new in the box, with 400 each, brand new, 300, some price you couldn't resist, right? Brand new. So if you on the inside of the nigga, the salesman, you like, you can get the truth out of him. Like, where y'all get them motherfuckers from? Like, oh, nigga, we hit the train. Okay, you hit the train. What was the train doing when you hit it? That motherfucker was parked in West Oakland overnight, just sitting there like a sitting duck. Why? With a fucking truckload of, not a fucking top to ceiling, bottom to ceiling, freight car full of guns stopping West Oakland when you know niggas hit the trains all the time. Why? It was a giveaway, right? It wasn't a fucking robbery. Niggas didn't steal them guns. Niggas just, they was giving to them. That shit changed everything. And them gun shipments came in many fucking ways. I heard the motherfucking LA motherfuckers tell a story. They was like, the motherfuckers in Watson, one of them little documentaries or something, the motherfuckers said a white van parked in the hood. They let the motherfuckers sit there for a day. Another day, white van just sit in the hood. Nigga, what the fuck? Bucket that white van up and see what's in it. Nothing but guns. That was a delivery. That wasn't no fucking robbery. So that shit happened all over the country. And it really happened in Oakland. And if you want to know some shit that'll piss you the fuck off, that shocked the fuck out of me, was all of the mentions and all of the involvement of Oakland, California in the book, The New Jim Crow, of all the Supreme Court and all the state level fucking hearings and shit and motherfucking cases that were like, you know, detrimental to fighting Ronald Reagan's drug laws. Or, I ain't gonna say Reagan, whatever, the fucking drug laws. And that whole Reaganomics shit and that whole war on drugs, that shit. And they was experimenting on us, man. All that shit with the police department receiving incentives for arresting minorities or just beefing up the arrest, but, aiming those incentives at minorities and just giving motherfuckers them little cheap ass crack case, you gotta rock, go to jail. You know what I'm saying? And then filling up the jails. That shit was a fucking plan, man. Like modern day slavery. Like how we gonna get all these motherfuckers in the system to work for free labor? That's what this shit has been about from day one. Mm-hmm. No doubt. It appears to be a good dramatization of an LA version of what happened. An LA version. It came to the Bay a lot different. And that story is about the discovery of the crack rock and the politics of how it became. It just hit cities like Oakland like, okay, we know the formula. Bam, here's the formula, just how you gotta do it. And it was 0 to 1,000 in no time flat. So, it wasn't no fucking little walk around and experiment shit. We was like first on the block for a patented formula. That was a personal song of just fed up. I'm in the motherfucking net of the OPD's incentives to harass and make arrests and catalog motherfuckers in the system and shit. And fucking I'm telling you, from driving around LA, being in LA a lot, and driving around the Bay, being in the Bay a lot, the rule was, for a guy like me, if I'm anywhere in eyesight of any police officer and he sees me in my nice car and if he just sees me, he mandatorily has to pull me over and either give me a ticket for something I didn't do, give me a ticket on something I did do, get me out the car, search me, fucking anything to detain me and figure out, can he give me a fucking case? And driving with no license and insurance was not a problem with them. Smoking weed was not a problem with them. They wanted cocaine and they wanted guns and they wanted to catalog you, and they told me that they were going to catch me for selling dope, and no matter how many times I said I don't sell dope and I actually make a lot of money off music, they was like, nah, you hang with dope dealers, you're one of them. They said exactly, word for word, guilty by association. We're gonna catch you one day. Well, the drug war. The fucking war that broke out like 92. Murderous ass drug war. 92, 93. I'm in the in my baller stage, platinum days, fly ass cars and shit. So I'm going to events and shit. I go to Freaknik. Time of my life, my birthday, 1993, Freaknik. I go out there for a weekend event, stay for 2 weeks, and get I knew Atlanta. I knew Atlanta well, but that time I saw what Atlanta looked like from the eyes of having money. And then I went back about 4 or 5 months later to the Jack the Rapper convention and literally bought a house. And I didn't really tell a lot of people, but the homies was killing the fuck out of each other, man. And I just wanted to have fun. And I wasn't not gonna kill nobody, but I was definitely gonna get killed. And I wasn't gonna get killed by nobody that was my enemy. I was gonna get killed by a motherfucker that hated the people I fuck with. And they was just gonna fuck me up just for fucking with them. And wasn't no doubt about it. The town was small and motherfuckers was doing cheap ass little murders like knocking niggas down with the walking up on you, the niggas that know you. My nigga, what's up? And they walk up on you and shoot you because you politically they against you for some little reason, and you don't even know this niggas hate you, and you still thinking because it's a town, man, it's small. If you could go to any neighborhood in Frisco or anywhere and be like, man, so and so got knocked down at the fucking phone booth. I know he always had his thing. I know he was on point. He must have got knocked down by somebody that knew him. You know the one. I'm like, I just felt like that's the only way they was gonna get me because I did used to stay strapped all the time, and I did used to fucking be leery of motherfuckers I didn't know. So who's gonna get me? Somebody I know. So I'm like, I don't want to do this shit. I sit around with niggas in Oakland, and motherfuckers are sitting around for hours plotting on how to get away with murders and fucking, shit to just thinking in detail on how to be in this war and do this shit and all this shit. And I'm like, man, it's so many motherfuckers out here that are trying to get away with murder. Some places, I think you be watching shit like Fresh 48 and be like, why is these niggas doing it like this? But I come up around some motherfuckers that was like, man, I don't want to go to jail for murder, but I don't want to have these enemies out here either. So it was like literally right now, today, I stood amongst motherfuckers who was like, man, we really was trying to kill each other when we was young. It was like my nigga, I ain't on that right now. We live that life. Motherfuckers sit down and eat a meal together and be like, nigga, an hour later, like, nigga, man, we really used to try to kill each other, man. Like, not playing around. Like, that shit was for real shit. So Atlanta, as you know, take it like a city like Vegas, like a lot of areas, Miami or something, you got this fucking features of the colleges, the clubs, the strip clubs, and it's this whole culture of a fun city that's chocolate city. It's black people every walks of life, living in houses, balling and shit. Atlanta was hood though. Very hood. Very fucking violent, very fucking real. But it was a separation. When you go up in the strip club, you don't depending on which one it is, you don't necessarily have to deal with the thug element because you could be a customer and you there for that and they there for that. Wasn't you gonna get your ass whooped at the strip club if you worked at the fucking mechanic shop and the fucking local thugs come in, they ain't finna beat you up unless you do something. So it wasn't like it was a pressure thing like it would be in the Bay. So if you got all these entertainers and ball players in the Bay and we got all these strip club niggas, my nigga, you know, let me get in your pocket, my nigga, like that, friendly or not. But it wasn't like that in Atlanta. So then you got all these colleges, they just motherfucker out there trying to have a good time. I moved to Atlanta when I was 27. So I'm like, I'm on the campus. Fuck that. So also the business factor. Everybody's trying to be a business owner. Everybody's trying to be a home owner. And it's infectious, man. You go there, it's 20 something years after I moved there, almost 25 years later, and that motherfucker is infectious with entrepreneurship and, you know, just education and motherfuckers trying to like get above versus this shit, you know, a lot of places we circle around where we from and niggas right now today is trying to take your shit. For real. So I got out there and I felt like after Life's Too Short, Short Dogs in the House, Shorty the Pimp, Getting Where You Fit In, I was like Michael Jackson in Atlanta. Motherfucker was like, oh shit. Like I went out there like, man, I'm not even looking over my shoulder. The fucking police pull up next to you in Atlanta, guess what they say? What's up, Too Short? The fuck, yo? Police pull up to you in Oakland, what they say? Pew. Pull it over, bro. First time I came back, I don't know if it was the first time I came back, but one of them times in the early days, I came back to Oakland, living in Atlanta, came back to Oakland, motherfucking had this truck that I bought in LA that I was driving it back to Atlanta. I'm gonna pass up through the town, kick it, blah, blah, blah. I'm up in that motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting in the truck. I'm driving the truck. My nigga's in the back seat. He got the strap on him. Motherfucker, now, we ain't really doing nothing. We're not the kind of people that bring attention on you. So whatever I'm doing, I'm cruising by the club and I'm doing nothing wrong. And they say, whoop, whoop. Get pulled over for no reason. I'm the driver. I swear to God, man, this is how the shit goes. My nigga, as soon as we get pulled over, it's the club letting out. There's people out on the streets. My nigga jumps out the back of the truck with the pistol on him and just walks away. It's that much confusing and shit. And you know, the police ain't letting no nigga jump out the car. Oh, y'all, stay your asses in there. He gets out, leave with the strap. They run up on me and whoever else in there, get out. We all the same, do the dance routine and search you, get in the car, run your name. They take me to jail. I get to jail, I keep saying the same thing. What did I do and why am I in jail? What'd I do? The motherfuckers say you got arrested for driving with no license. I'm like, I have a driver's license. What are you talking about? They go to my property and go, oh, your driver's license is in your property. Oh, well, you can go. What the fuck are you talking about? I can go. That's OPD. That's just the shit. That's just the shit they do, man. And they, you know, I'm pretty sure, ask a youngster right now, they just as shitty right now. I don't know. They was pretty shitty when we was youngsters. They speak to me now. I see them at the Warrior games. I see them in different places. They're like, what's up, Too Short? These motherfuckers wasn't speaking to me 15 years ago. 20 years ago. Y'all don't want to say shit. Lil John worked for Jermaine Dupri. He was a producer and an A&R for So Def. He DJed a lot of parties in Atlanta, and I went to a lot of parties in Atlanta. And I saw him DJ many times, and his DJing style was a lot different than everybody else's because Shaq said Boston was gonna win this game. Look, they about to win it. He said, um, I wanted to fuck with Lil John on some music. And he had a song that I wanted to do a remix to, and he was like, "No, let's just do some new shit." So we did some new shit, and it was some shit that got out and got around. It was hot, and fucking he got at me and was like, "Man, he was like, I'm in this little situation on some paperwork that can't get out of." And then when he told me who it was, which was a dude who had a good relationship with, who wasn't really like on no gangster shit or nothing like that. And then he told me the situation. That dude had put some money up and didn't get his money back, and they was just at a stalemate. And dude was like, "I ain't never letting you out the contract." And John was like, "I ain't never giving you no music." So I just got at homie with it like, "Man, me and Lil John got some business going on, man, and what we gotta do to resolve that?" And he was like, "Man, I want my money back. I ain't doing shit till I get my money back." Small ass amount of money. I was like, this is all I gotta do. And I went in my pocket and gave that nigga that amount of money, and that nigga ripped up Lil Jon's contract, and Lil John has loved me ever since, because that was something that he was gonna get past, but yeah, it's stress free, no courts, no nothing. Go get you a deal, chip me off. I told him, I said, "Man, all I want is beats." And I think 100 people call me stupid. I was like, y'all don't see what I see.